All right, we should be starting here in just a second. It'd be great if you could type in the chat and let me know if you hear me, if you can hear me clear and loudly, just so that we can make sure we got the audio synced up and everything. Make sure you guys have a good experience when you're on the class. Just let me know, type in the chat if you can hear me, if I sound all right, all that kind of stuff. Also, Johnson, welcome from Singapore. That is awesome, man. I live in Brooklyn, New York, so that's where I do most of my activity. I've been in this area for about 4 years now. So we're going to be talking a lot in terms of with this class. Number one, how to get backers on Kickstarter and with crowdfunding. Number two, going into some of the psychological triggers, the reasons why people actually donate and give money to these different campaigns. Also, my own experience, having worked with many creators since 2012. So, me covering a lot of core content on this class. And I also think that, particularly with this class, I want to make sure that we tailor everything to you, that you can ask questions, that you can get things answered, and that way it's really worth your time. It's valuable to you and your time if I can actually answer some of the real questions that you have. I can address your concerns with crowdfunding and share my experience. So that's the entire reason why I want to do this class today. But also, I just find that these classes, I tend to see way more, follow through, in that these students are typically taking action. I do my YouTube channel, which are actually almost at 4,000 subscribers. I think we're at 3,096 or something like that. So we're almost at 4,000 subscribers with the YouTube channel. Have the podcast, have the blog, have kickstarterforum.org. So there are a lot of different core resources online where nowadays you can actually learn about crowdfunding. You can get information and all that kind of stuff. But with this class, I'm really going to be sharing things that are not really out there. They're not really out there in the public sphere. And in particular, I think there's a lot of things that people don't realize happen behind the scenes when it comes to a crowdfunding campaign. So this is the entire focus of this class. And it's also going to be a lot of the stuff I'm going into is directly applicable to your campaign. You literally just have to, if you have notes, like try and take notes while you're doing this, you can literally just apply this to your crowdfunding campaign. You can implement these different strategies and techniques that are proven to actually raise more money for your campaign and to get you more traffic and all of these different things. It's been my joy over the years, last 4 or 5 years, to educate about this topic and to share what works and what doesn't, and to really sort of guide you along the way. Because when I first got started, honestly, there wasn't that much information out there on crowdfunding. Like, there was literally zero information when it comes to marketing, when it comes to what actually causes a campaign to get funded. Like, all of these common questions were just not answered. It was kind of like the Wild West, and everyone was trying to figure out what to do. Everyone was trying to figure out how to actually make a campaign be successful. And over the last few years, I've been privileged to interview many of the successful campaigns out there, to have them on my podcast, to learn from the best people out there, to interact with more than 7,000 people on kickstarterforum.org. My blog last year reached over 600,000 people, with the show, the podcast, over 100,000, YouTube, etc. So I've been in contact with a tremendous amount of different campaigns, and I've seen what works and what doesn't. And in particular, some of the things that every single successful campaign has in common. The same things that every single successful campaign does, and really what you need to do if you want to not only hit your fundraising goal, but also surpass it. Because I know a lot of us, like, maybe we have a funding goal and it's like, it'd be great if we hit that. But at the same time, we want to surpass that goal. We want to do much better. I like to say we want to smash that goal when you're raising money on Kickstarter or Indiegogo. So that's going to be the entire basis of today's webinar. I'm going to get started just now. And if you just started, you can use the chat functionality if you have any questions, if you have any comments. I also have people who just love to sit back and watch, and they don't necessarily want to interact. So that's fine. My whole goal with the class is to tailor it to you. So the more interaction I get, the more questions I get, the more comments, the more I can make sure that you're going to get a ton out of the investment of time that you're making here today, and make sure that you get all of your questions answered. and really to share what's relevant to you. I have a lot of things I want to share with you, but I also want to get your questions so that I can answer them completely. Okay, guys, let us get started here with this web class. So for some of the instructions I just went over, if you have any questions, type them in the chat. The only thing that I ask of you is to be mindful and respectful of the other people that are attending. People might show up throughout the webinar. Just make sure that you're not, talking to other people in a belittling way, or you're being a troll or anything like that. This is really for people that are just trying to learn. It's other students that are trying to launch campaigns or interested in crowdfunding. And my goal here is to be helpful for you. So please be polite. And also, if you want to answer any of the survey questions that I have for you, that is really appreciated, because it gives me a vibe of like who's on the webinar, where you are, and that way I can address the audience much more effectively. Now, with this entire class, I'm going to be mainly going over the components of a successful crowdfunding campaign. And this applies to both Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So talking about the actual assets, like what goes into a campaign, how do you get the word out? How do you get traffic? How do you get backers? How do you even stand out? It's so crowded nowadays. How can you push through the noise and really get attention, get funding, and hopefully launch that business of your dreams or put that project into the world? I'm going to be sharing with you what a successful campaign looks like and what the elements that all of them have in common. So I think you're going to get a ton of value out of this webinar. Like, honestly, every single class that I've done, people have had rave reviews. They've loved it. They said how helpful it is. So I think you're going to really enjoy this class today. I have some personal goals for you. One of the things I love working with students over the years is to see transformations and to see them actually get more confident about crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is something it's so new, and also a lot of people going into it, they don't know a lot of terminology. They've never marketed a product before. They've never raised money for a product at all online. So I want you to feel more confident. I do want you to walk away with proven strategies that work for raising money, to know what you have to do, to know what to focus on, all of that kind of stuff. I want to get into that, but I also want you to feel confident. I want you to walk away and feel like, okay, like I know what to do. I feel a little bit better about this. I don't have so many questions in my mind. So that's my goal here for you. And I also want you to think about Kickstarter is a launch pad. It's one part in your entire journey. It's one thing you're going through in order to build that online business, in order to have that career change. It's really an inflection point or a catalyst for getting attention, for getting the word out, for getting your early customers, all that kind of stuff. It's a catalyst. They really named Kickstarter well, in that it kickstarts a new career or a new business, and the same goes for Indiegogo. And finally, before you invest this time here with me today, I want to tell you a little bit about myself just very briefly, so that you know that not only am I credible, but I've also been in the trenches there with you. So I started crowdcrux.com. This is my blog. You might know me from this blog in 2012. This was really early into the crowdfunding days. And pretty much for that first year, I was blogging, I was writing, all this kind of stuff. Eventually, my work sort of caught on in the larger mainstream media, and I got cited by the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, CNN, Forbes. I've given talks to different universities, etc. And it's been a passion of mine to share this education with entrepreneurs, with crowdfunders just like you, who want to use crowdfunding as a way to get funding for their dream or their creative project or their business project. So over the years, not only do I have the blog, I have a podcast called Crowdfunding Demystified. That podcast has done over 100,000 downloads. More than 100,000 people have listened to it. I have the YouTube channel. We're almost at 4,000 subscribers now. That's a newer thing that I have going on. I have the Kickstarter Launch Formula, which is a book available on Amazon. I have 3 other books on crowdfunding available on Amazon. And I also started Kickstarterforum.org, which is an online forum which is free that people can use to network with other campaign creators. They can discover best practices. A lot of people also share their experience related to Kickstarter on that forum. And over the years, over 7,000 people have registered on that forum and shared their experience, etc. I think it just goes on to saying that I've seen a lot of different things, a lot of different campaigns under the sun, and I've seen what works and what doesn't when it comes to crowdfunding. And I want to bring all of this knowledge here today for you. I want to share it with you so we save time, we save money, we save headache going into the upcoming crowdfunding campaign. So my first question, to sort of get a gauge of you, where you are in this process, and also to be able to talk more effectively to you, I want to learn a little bit about your products. So I'd love it if you could take a second to, in the chat, to respond and say, I'm raising money for this, or this is the product that I have, this is the idea that I have. Any kind of information about what you're trying to crowdfund is going to help me dramatically with this class, and also make sure that I'm sharing things that are effective for you. Okay. I want to first get started with the bedrock of a Kickstarter campaign, and also go into the psychological triggers, the reasons why people actually support campaigns, why they actually donate, why campaigns go viral, these different things. And then I'm going to close out with some of the more tactics and strategies and that kind of stuff. So the first thing is the hard assets of a Kickstarter campaign. You can think of this as like a butterfly net. If you're in the field and you're trying to capture butterflies in a butterfly net, the butterfly net is the tool at your disposal to actually capture butterflies. So this is your video, your reward tiers, your copywriting, which is just a fancy word for the campaign text, the images on your page, the title, and the description. This is the actual branding or marketing copy that people come, they see, and they might decide to then support your campaign or click off and go back to Facebook or YouTube or watching funny cat videos or whatever you like to do online. So this is kind of like the butterfly net that you're using to capture butterflies. Then there is the marketing strategy. This is the strategy that you have to get attention, to get interest, to build awareness. And that comprises of social media, your email list, PR, paid traffic, all this kind of stuff goes into the marketing strategy. This is how you're basically coaxing those butterflies onto that field, how you're getting traffic and attention. And we're going to go really in depth here. And this is also my area of expertise. So I love this section. And finally, there is the marketplace. So the marketplace is, you think of Amazon. Amazon is a marketplace of buyers and sellers. You have people that are regularly buying products, you have people that are selling products. The same thing exists with Kickstarter and Indiegogo. They are both marketplaces. And you can actually, in a way, rank better on these different marketplaces. When you know the dynamics of how they work, you can get more attention, you can stand out, and you can really use those marketplace dynamics to your advantage. I think something that's very frustrating for many campaigners is they might see that all these campaigns are getting funded, they launch their project, and they don't see any backers. They're like, oh, crowdfunding didn't work for me. Well, that's not exactly true. So you can launch a product on Amazon. It doesn't guarantee you're going to get sales. You have to know a little bit about how Amazon works. You have to know a little bit about your buyers and all these different things. So the marketplace is sort of the third pillar that goes into a successful killer Kickstarter campaign. Now, I'm a big believer in sort of simplifying the process of everything. I hate like marketing jargon and marketing speak. I hate these formal different terms that people just kind of throw out. And I want to sort of break this down for you very simply. So the goal of all of your marketing related to Kickstarter, crowdfunding, Indiegogo, your business, the goal of all of your marketing is to influence lurkers to become customers. So if you are on a desk right now, like if you imagine on the desk in front of you, on the one side, there are lurkers. These are people who are vaguely interested in what you're doing. Like they know who you are, maybe they know a little bit about your product, like vaguely, but they're lurkers really. Your goal is to move them on this continuum to the other side of the desk where they become customers, where they're bought into your vision, what you're doing, they're supporting you. They're really backers of your crowdfunding campaign. So marketing, number one, you try to get more lurkers, more people interested. It sounds kind of like stalkerish, but you want more lurkers, people who are interested in what you're doing vaguely. They know who you are, these different things. But the real money, the real pledges, the real funding comes when you move them on this continuum from lurkers to backers. So this is the crux. This is the holy grail of this entire class. Everything I'm sharing goes back to this sentence. Everything I'm sharing is pushing people on this continuum to make it so that you actually get backers for your crowdfunding campaign. Now, a lot of people think if we're launching a product, the number one thing you want to do is you want to educate people and talk about the informative, amazing effects of this product and go into all of the details of how it works and these different things. I want to get into the actual psychological principles, the emotions that cause someone to say, yes, I want this product. Yes, I want to back your crowdfunding campaign. And it all comes back to emotions. So the number one emotion that causes people to say, wow, that's cool, let's check it out, to watch the video, to back your campaign, is the emotion of urgency. So urgency is when you feel a sense of urgency, a sense of immediacy about something that's going on in your life. And when something is urgent, not only does it go to the top of your to-do list, not only do you pay attention more so, do you take more action, but also if there's any kind of hassle that's like surrounding that activity, you just kind of ignore it and you just plow through and you take action. When something is urgent in your life, it goes from number 10 on your to-do list upwards to number 3, number 2, or number 1. So a good example of this is if you think back to your college days or your school days, we're all assigned different essays or papers that we have to write. And a lot of us, like, I don't know, I did this at least. I would wait until the day before it's due to actually write that paper. And the reason why was, well, I didn't have a reason to get started beforehand. But when it was due the next day, I was like, oh man, I actually got to start working. I got to get this done. So I'll spend, 8 hours, or I'll spend up the entire night, invest a ton of mental energy and time in doing that and getting that paper completed. So for me, that is how urgency caused me to take action. And the reason why crowdfunding works is the factor of urgency. So number one, urgency with regards to your early bird reward tiers. These are the limited quantity reward tiers that are at a better price than your traditional reward tiers on your crowdfunding campaign. So what I mean by this is when someone sees that you have a limited number of products available at this discounted price at the early bird reward tier, it prompts urgency because they have to take action now. Otherwise, they're not going to get the best price. Another good example of urgency is in the last few days of your crowdfunding campaign, many campaigns see a surge in donations, a surge in pledges, and people pouring in and backing their project. Why is that? It's because of urgency. There's a limited amount of time when they're going to be able to support this campaign because the campaign is ending. The timer is going down. The number of days they can support it is going down. There's only 1 day left. So there's a high degree of urgency. So these are different emotions I'm going through that actually cause people to move on this continuum from a lurker to an actual customer, and they all go back to emotions. Now, when I was first getting started, people would talk about like your story and the importance of that. And I never really understood it. Like I thought that was kind of like artistic. How did that relate to business? It doesn't really make sense to me. This seems kind of like highfalutin. But over the years, I've really come to respect the concept of story. And I've also come to understand why it is so gosh darn powerful for getting people to take action. So let me give you an example here. When is the last time that you listened to a 2-hour long talk or you watched a informational video that was 2 hours long? Probably not very often. I mean, I'm a nerd, so like I probably do that, but other people, not as much. You get bored. You get bored of someone talking for so long. That's one of the reasons why I want to get some of your questions going so we can get some interaction here. But the last time that I personally was sitting for 2 hours watching a screen was in the movie theaters. And I was sitting with other strangers in a dark room watching this movie, watching this story unfold. What story does at the end of the day is it actually commands attention way more than simple logic. It actually piques the emotions in your brain and it causes you to pay attention because you're wondering what's going to happen next. It causes a sense of curiosity. So that's the first thing that story does. The other thing it does is it's really good at transmitting emotions. So let's just say that I want you to feel a certain way about a product, or I want you to feel a certain way about an event that happened to me. Well, I could break down logically what happened with that event, or I could weave a story and tell you how I felt, what this person did, what that person did, how they reacted, and instantly you are transported into that event and you feel a similar degree of emotions that I felt in that situation. So what your story does is it's sort of like a vehicle for transmitting emotions that you feel about a product to someone else. So they get as excited as you are about the product and as excited as you are about the actual campaign. And finally, story goes back to the concept of empathy. When we see characters that we like in a movie, or we see characters that are doing things and we admire them, we tend to assign positive emotions to that character. And actors are very famous for this, where like you like maybe Robert Downey Jr. and his character in Iron Man, you love him, you meet him in real life, and he's nothing like it, and it's kind of like a letdown. We naturally assign positive emotions to characters in stories. So when you wrap your entire product, the creation of the product, the story that went into making this product into a story, people will naturally empathize with you. They'll naturally be more curious, and they'll also be far more likely to like you, which I get into a little bit later. Now, these are the first two that I mentioned are definitive ways that people actually move on this continuum to not only back your project, to lower their defensive barriers, to trust you more. Another major one, which is not talked about very much, is the concept of social proof. So what is social proof? It's a very like fancy psychological term. Basically, social proof is the concept that because other people are doing something, or because you witness other people doing something, you are more likely to spend attention on that thing. It piques your curiosity, and you're also more likely to do it. So that's kind of like a little bit in the air. Like, how can we actually ground that in a concrete example? Let's just say like you're in a major metropolitan area, you're with your friend, you're going to eat dinner later, and you're walking down the street and you pass by one restaurant and you look at the menu, it looks like good food. You look in the window and like no one is there. There's no one there eating. There's no one there at all in the restaurant. And you look to your friend and it's like, wow, that would be really awkward. Like to eat alone with your friend there, it just feels weird. It feels strange. And like, why is it that at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. that no one is there in a major metropolitan area? So you're like, okay, let's see what else is on this block. So you walk down, you come across another restaurant, you see immediately a little bit of a line out the door. You see people inside the restaurant smiling, all happy, eating. You go up to the hostess and they're like, okay, it's going to be like 15 minutes. Is that okay with you? You're like, yeah, I mean, 15 minutes, that's not bad. You check out the menu. It's like the same pretty much as the other restaurant. But you say to your friend, okay, let's go here. Why is that? It's because other people are there. Since other people are in the restaurant, number one, you're more likely to rationalize, oh, this is probably good food. Number two, it just feels more natural. It doesn't feel as awkward as the other restaurant. And number three, it's just overall, you sort of expect you're going to have a good time at this restaurant because other people are also. So let's relate this back to crowdfunding. If you launch a crowdfunding campaign and you have no backers, you have no funding whatsoever, and I come to your campaign and I see that, I am not really very likely to actually watch your video. I am not very likely to back it. And I'm most likely to just close the browser window and be like, oh, I'll check back later. Or like, oh, I don't know, this doesn't look really that great. It looks like a spammy campaign. This doesn't look very serious. And I just am not interested at all. It didn't even register in my mind. On the flip side, if I come to a campaign, there are backers, there's funding, there's people interested in this project. I'm like, oh, like, what is this? My curiosity is piqued. I'm more likely to actually watch the video. I'm more likely to spend just a few minutes to look through the campaign text. And if I see other people are backing it, it's like, yeah, I'm going to take a chance on this. I never want to be the sucker, like the only backer to support a project, like one of two backers to support a project. I don't want to be a sucker. I don't want to go for a campaign that's like spammy or something like that. But if I see a bunch of other people have already certified that this is a real deal, this is a cool product, I'm more likely to just lean on their judgment a little bit and be willing to back it. Another great example here is like a bestseller. If you have two books and they're equally good at educating about a topic, one of them is a bestseller or one of them has all these accolades, you're far more likely to buy the book that's a bestseller because other people have verified that this is something that is worth your time. So social proof is another major concept in terms of why crowdfunding works, and that creating that emotion of trust and lowering those defensive barriers. Now, the final emotion I want to go into before I get into some more tactical stuff and strategies, and I'm also going to take a second to look at the chat and also take a sip of water. This is the final reason that I found that crowdfunding works really, really well. And it's the concept of building relationships at scale. So this is kind of a difficult concept, but one way to think of it is if you saw me walking down the street, like you recognize my voice or you recognize my face. You saw me walking down the street. You're like, hey, Sal, like, what's up? I'm like, hey, man, how's it going? What's your name? You're more likely and be more receptive to say hi to me because you've seen my face, because you know me. Like you're getting a sense right now of my passion when it comes to crowdfunding. You've already gotten a sense of my values, how I put education as a forefront of all my work, all these different things. You have a sense of who I am. So it's less scary for you to say hi to me if I'm walking down the street. The great thing about crowdfunding is people can feel emotions towards you and they can feel trusting towards you from just having seen your face in the video, from just having seen your social media, from just having gotten a sense of who you are with your story. And this all links back to moving people on that continuum from like, oh, this is just a spammy marketer. This is just a guy trying to get my money. You're trying to launch this product and he wants my money. He doesn't want anything else. Instead, you want people to view you as a friend. You want people to have a sense of who you are, have a sense of your values, have a sense of your passion. These different things are what cause crowdfunding to work. And the reason why strangers will actually back your crowdfunding campaign. You can never just have a stranger back your product or even buy your product. You have to turn that stranger into what I call a warm lead. You have to turn them into a little bit of a friend first before they actually watch your video, before they warm up to you and are willing to support your crowdfunding campaign. So I have a question for you. I'm going to take a second to take a sip of water and also take a look, see if there are any answers to this question. When are you launching your crowdfunding campaign? Okay, guys, looking here through some of the questions. LumpTube, that's a cool name. You're from Cincinnati, Ohio, passionate about helping others succeed in online marketing. Awesome. Johnson17, launching a campaign soon. Most likely will be next week. Besides Facebook, where or which platform is great for Kickstarter marketing? That is a really good question, Johnson. I'm actually going to get into that in the next section. Some of the actual strategies aside from Facebook that you can use and also how they play into the overall campaign. Quint Craftable says, hi, my name is Sean. I want to raise money to start my own 3D independent animated series. Oh, that's pretty sweet. I can lend some thoughts on that, and I'll try to at least pull out some of the ways that you can do a little bit better with that project. Okay, so we're getting some good questions here. Gene says, when I feel confident. Nice. My goal here is to totally make you feel way more confident with crowdfunding. So if you do have any questions, feel free to leave them there. I want to make you come away from this class feeling more confident, but also armed with some strategies you can use and apply and really what to focus on. And also we have another one launching February 6th. That actually gives you a ton of time. So that's really good. Usually the more time that you can have to devote to this, the better, just because then you don't have to lean as heavily on paid marketing. So I want to go into some of the actual strategies. You know, the first little bit I was talking about psychology and talking about the reason why people take action, the emotions that cause people to take action. And you can do simple things like you can underscore the urgency. You can say this campaign is ending at this date. We only have 2 days. You can say our early bird reward tiers are quickly disappearing. You have to provoke that urgency in the people that you're looking to support your campaign, or you can use your story, elements of your story in different areas, different things, or you can underscore with things like media logos or accolades to improve your social proof. These are the different things you can do. But what I want to concentrate on now is the number one activity that is going to result in instant funding, instant backers, and basically you instantly trending well on Kickstarter. And this is what all of the campaigns do. All the big boys who are raising bunches of money, 6 and 7 figures on Kickstarter, I get to look behind the hood sort of and see what they're doing. The number one thing they do is they build an email list of interested backers before they launch the campaign. This is bread and butter email marketing. And what I mean by that is people who are interested in the product, people who are interested in gaining access to the early bird reward tiers, or are in any way interested in what it is that you're doing. They build an email list of people before they launch. And then they announce that they've launched to that email list. And the reason why they do this is that actually all these other channels like Facebook and social media, they are great. They are amazing. I'm actually going to be talking a lot about them in a little bit, but email is actually the highest converting channel. So email is the number one way people take action. It's the number one way you can say, check out this link, and you have a bunch of people go and check out that link. If you do that on Twitter, you might have a handful of people doing it, but nothing like email. So email is the number one you should be focused on leading up to the launch of your crowdfunding campaign. Now, the way that most people do it is they will build a landing page in order to capture email addresses or leads before they go live on Kickstarter. So landing page, it's very simple. It's basically just a single web page that teases the product, maybe has a video, image, some text there to tease the product. And the person who visits that page, the only thing that they can do, they can't click around, they can't share that on social media or anything like that. The only thing they can do is opt in to their email list. So they can leave their name and email if they want more information or they want to gain access to the early bird reward tiers or join the giveaway, or whatever it is. The landing page serves as a page that you can use to track different metrics. So what does that mean? That means, let's just say you send 100 people to a landing page. Of those 100 people, 30 of them give you their name and email address. So that's a 30% conversion rate. So that landing page is converting 30% of the people you send. That tells you a lot of information. And then from that 30 people, you can get other metrics like how many are opening your emails, these different things. But what that allows you to do is it allows you to be more informed and change your messaging. If you upload a video, maybe that jumps to 50% or 40%, or maybe you're only at 10% and you make a change and now 30% are opting in. So a landing page is great for getting a vibe of how your product is doing in a sense, and also your messaging, these different things. But also when it gets to paid advertising, you can use it to nail down the cost per email address. So if you put $500 into Facebook leads and it generates this many email addresses, you know how much it costed per email address. So email marketing should be number one on your list. Number two is content marketing. So content marketing is another fancy word that people use. All it is sharing out content on social media or even on your website, like a blog, a podcast, YouTube. This is all content marketing. And it goes back to building a relationship at scale. You might know of me because of my blog, because of my podcast, because of my YouTube, because of my books, all these different things. I've effectively began to build a relationship with you as a result of the content that I put out there online. And you can do the same thing. You can put out content on Facebook. You can put out content on your website or on Twitter or these different mediums. And you can use that to begin to get followers, because people will follow you because they want more content like this. It sort of falls into two camps here. Number one being informative content, educational content, and number two being entertaining, emotionally interesting, maybe a story, maybe a quote, these different things that could be entertaining content. People will follow you on social media because of the content that you put out, and that then leads to them being warmed up to your brand, and then you can get them onto an email list where they're more likely to convert into backers of your crowdfunding campaign. Now, talking about also building relationships at scale, another reason why content marketing is very powerful is the concept of mere exposure. So mere exposure is a psychological phenomenon. And basically, all that it says is the more you see someone's face, the more you hear their voice, the more you know their name, or you see their brand, or you see their product, the more familiarity you tend to associate with that person. They sort of move from like a stranger into a friend box. On the one side, they're strangers or like a company you don't trust. On the other side, they're your friend. You know who they are, or they're an acquaintance at least. So the more that you share content out there on social media, the more that you put yourself out there, the more that people gain familiarity with who you are, what your values are. They get a sense of at least trusting you a little bit, and their defensive barriers are certainly lowered. So it's a very powerful effect. It's also one of those things like if you see someone in your office who you've never talked to before, but you like recognize them and you're at the bus stop, you're more likely to say hi to them than just a random stranger. And that's simply because you've seen their face before. You've never interacted with them previously. You've never actually said anything to them, but simply because you've seen their face before, you assign more trust to that person. This is a very important way to build trust with your audience. And it's also something that just shows them a little bit more into your world and who you are. So, along with email marketing, along with content marketing, and really what ties all this together, moving people into the continuum of becoming a backer of your campaign, one thing that I see that many campaigns do not do is actually the concept of PR, going out there, getting media attention. And of the people I've interviewed, they have all said that they wish they had done more PR. They wish they had reached out to bloggers. They wish they had done a little bit of that kind of media attention. So the problem here is I want to educate you and I want to give you some of the different pillars, the strategies that go into a successful crowdfunding campaign. So I want to talk a little bit about PR and sort of the value of that. So at least it's on your radar. If you're launching your campaign in February or January, you know that this is something that you can do that is also going to get results. But I would be just really curious if you could also answer, what do you think the value of the media is? Do you think it's not valuable at all? Have you seen campaigns that have gotten into the media? Have you discovered Kickstarter from news stories, these different things? Would love to hear from you in the chat. Now, for me, the media is a really strange beast. When I first got started blogging, basically I was sharing very similar articles to what I share now. Like, it's helpful, it's very well researched, it's very in depth. These different things that are kind of like hallmarks of my brand. But people weren't really taking attention. Like, I was just another blogger out there in the internet. But it was only once I started to get media attention, like Forbes writing about me or CNN or New York Times, that I started to get a tremendous amount of interest from people. So, like, for example, I got to talk at Harvard, the Harvard Kennedy School of Government, because they saw a piece in the media. And I got to talk at these other different universities and different settings because of the media attention that I got. So what was weird to me was I didn't really change. Like, I was still putting out quality content. I still put out very quality content. But what changed was how people perceived me. So simply because I had gotten into these major media publications, people saw me differently. They took me much more seriously. They really gave me more credibility. So what I realized was that the media actually is a credibility indicator. When the media has written about you, it's kind of like them giving you like a seal of approval for your campaign. Like they're certifying you as being serious about the product, as not being another scammy kind of crowdfunding campaign, and actually having a great product. So when people come to your campaign and they see media logos, immediately they assign a certain degree of credibility to your project. And that's why it's very, very powerful. The other cool thing was mainly at that time, seeing traffic from like friends, family, from some social media, from some search engines and stuff. But I instantly saw a skyrocket in terms of my traffic because a lot of people will regularly visit these media publications. They'll regularly consume news. They're interested in whatever topic this is, whether it's like gadgets or gizmos or 3D printing or whatever. And they check out things when they're curious. So if there's a news story about a really cool product, I'm more likely to click through and look more into that product. So the cool thing about the media is it will give you traffic, and it actually gives you access to a community of people that are interested in a particular thing. It's kind of like segmenting people if you think about that. Like, everyone who reads Entrepreneur Magazine is really interested in startups and entrepreneurship. People who read a news publication that's about 3D printing are interested in 3D printing. And therefore, if a product appears that's related to that, they're more likely to check it out. So the other cool thing about media is it gets you traffic. And that's one of the reasons it should be actually on your radar. The other thing is that the entire goal here, I'm kind of actually, man, I'm like guilty, I would say, when I was in my early stages, really just getting caught up in the hype. Like I saw my followers going up, seeing like thousands of people visit my blog and these different things. And I was like feeling really cool because I'm like popular online. People know my name, people starting to know my face, these different things. And I just thought it was really cool. And I was like, wow, like I made it. It was like the dumbest thing to think, because what you realize is popularity doesn't matter. Numbers, followers don't matter. It's all what people call vanity metrics. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is if you share a link or you ask your community to do something, how many of those people actually do it? And you can have like 100,000 Instagram followers, but if you share something and only one or two actually check it out, it doesn't matter. The thing that matters is going back to this continuum. How many people can you actually get them to check out your campaign and to do these different things, to back it, to watch the video, etc. So the cool thing about the media is, number one, the people visiting the campaign are already targeted to be interested in something, so they're more likely to back it. But also number two, once you get these media logos and this credibility, it will actually convert more people into backers. If I come to the campaign and I see this credibility, I'm more likely to watch the video and support it. So it's sort of a byproduct of the media. And that's at the end of the day, that's all that matters, is the funding and is the backers and the number of people that you can persuade of the value of your product and your vision. That was kind of a harder lesson for me when I was younger. So I wanted to share that here today. So I'm going to take a second to look at the chat. And I also want to then talk a little bit about how I traditionally will help campaigns. And then at the end, I'm going to leave 15 minutes or so and just go through all the questions that you guys have, and any questions related to crowdfunding or Kickstarter or these different things. Would love to do that. Just going to take a sip of water here for a second. Okay, Quinn Craftables asks, what can I do to make my crowdfunding campaign look more authentic? Well, I just mentioned a few ones. Obviously having media logos, making sure that you're sharing your story, that you have the actual story that goes into the creation of the product to build rapport in that way. Another one being, a lot of people will see a campaign with not many backers or funding. So building an email list is going to help you, because you're going to start to get some backers in the door. So people are going to naturally think your campaign is more authentic, or is at least getting some interest. They're going to be more interested. So that's another way. In terms of the actual video, I would recommend having a video for your crowdfunding campaign. If you don't, that's going to come off really badly. There's a lot of stuff you can do. Honestly, I'd have to know a little bit more about what it is you're raising money for. But these different things are actually going to play into whether or not people pay attention. So it's kind of like you have to be open to actually supporting something. You have to be open to the message before you make the decision to support a crowdfunding campaign. So I do think if you feel as though you're struggling with this, you're struggling with coming across authentically, that is a problem, and that is something that should be addressed before you launch the campaign. If you share a little bit more information, I might be able to help you via the chat and share where your hesitancy is, if you will, or where you're a little bit frightened, if you will, in terms of the authenticness of your campaign. So for me, what I've seen here, I've shared a lot of different things with you guys today, in terms of the psychological tactics, in terms of building the email list being the number one thing, all these other strategies that you can use. But for me, looking back at my career, there are sort of different stages. And as I went and as I learned more about my students and their needs and these different things, I sort of incorporated different things into my offerings, and also have helped them over the years in different ways. So this has led up to this one point where I've created something that I call the complete crowdfunding system. So this addresses every single pillar that I see when it comes to an effective crowdfunding campaign. So I'm going to go through this, and I also think this is honestly a really great blueprint. Even if you're not interested in it, something to follow for your campaign. But I'm going to be going through the complete crowdfunding system. And then also at the end, I'm going to be leaving a lot of time here for some questions and any more things you guys want to ask me. So I was telling you a little bit before, when I first got started, I was just kind of like a blogger out there online, and then I started to get more and more media attention. I started to get more serious, and it made it my mission over the last few years, last 5 years, to discover many of the tactics that actually cause people to take action, and also to get traffic and to convert that traffic into pledges. And once I start to share many of these techniques, I start to see even more attention. And that's really when my crowd started to build up much, much more. So I started to see more people visiting my website and getting, following me on social media and all of these different things, building my email list, over 20,000 people. Kickstarterforum.org has over 7,000 people. I started to see the sort of collective tribe growing. And it wasn't a response, it's not because I'm like, quote unquote, special or something like that. Like I wish. It's because I've implemented many of the things that I've shared with you here today. That is the reason why I've been able to attract attention and build my own crowd. So I started to think back and be like, okay, so how can I help other people do this aside from the campaigns I've worked with, et cetera? And that's really when I put together this system with these various pillars to help with the various parts of a campaign. So the first thing is, of course, going to be one-on-one mentorship and ongoing support. Of all the different people I've interviewed and all the different campaigns I've talked with, et cetera, the number one thing they say is that it doesn't come down to you. It comes down to your team. It comes down to how good your team is in terms of their experience, their knowledge, their skill set. That's really what makes crowdfunding work. It's not an individual sport, really. It's more of a team sport, because you can only do so much yourself, and you're only good at certain things yourself. But when you build a team around yourself, it really sets your campaign up for success. So the first part of this system is one-on-one mentorship with me, and also ongoing support throughout your launch. So this is like, if you have questions, or if you want me to look at your project, recommend different things, talk about crowdfunding or the different service providers in the industry, really support questions that you have, where you should be going, how you should be focusing your time, these different things. That is the main part of this initial pillar for the system. And it's also one of those things where it's like, of course, I love to recommend different things, but you also have to be coachable. You have to be willing to take my advice to heart, and also go through the reasons why I recommend these different things. So you have to be coachable in order for this to work. The second is a lot of these different strategies. Like, there's some basics out there I put out there on crowdfunding with my YouTube channel, the podcast, etc. But there isn't that much in terms of the way of the actual verified strategies that work to get backers to your campaign, to get traffic, etc. And it's the reason is it's actually hard. It took me years to discover these different things. So I put this into my exclusive training. These are verified strategies to get into the media, to rank well on Kickstarter, to build up your social following, all the different stuff we talked about. I really scraped the surface here. You can think of like an iceberg. This is like the top of the iceberg. Everything else is at the bottom, below the surface. This is really what the campaigns are doing behind the scenes to instantly get funded and to surpass their crowdfunding goal. So this is the next pillar of the system, is the right training. And number three, well, it's great to have, someone on your team who's knowledgeable in these different things and to have that support and training and all this stuff. I think you also need sort of an accelerator agent. Like, if this is a fire, you need an accelerant of some kind. So that's why I've also included the Mega Booster Blast package. So I'm going to go into that in a little bit later, but basically this is designed to get you in front of my audience, to bring you on the stage and share with everyone what you're doing, and to lend my credibility to you. So that way, not only do you get traffic, not only do you get credibility, but it's also starting your campaign up on the right foot, and sort of going from that way, blasting your campaign, making sure that you're at least getting traffic in that way, and that things are going right from that angle. So I'm going to go through some of the various examples of students. And also, you can think of this as inspiration. You can think of this as, these are realistic, like these are other human beings who are just like you. They're in their 30s, 40s, 50s, people that are raising money with Kickstarter and with crowdfunding and with Indiegogo. So this is a recent success story. They had a $50,000 goal with this campaign. It's for the Hoppy Kickstarter campaign. They were on my podcast a little ways back. But Jong basically went into the campaign, went to raise money for this. He had a $50,000 goal. We did a bunch of different mentoring sessions. I recommended some things. There's some changing of the strategy. Overall, I do think he had an amazing product, a good product, but it wasn't positioned correctly. So I went in, I suggested a lot of different things. They were very coachable. They made a lot of these different changes. And you can read the email here. They achieved many of their goals when they literally just launched their campaign. So they hit their goal in 15 minutes. This is actually a technique that I really recommend. The goal is actually to hit the goal as quickly as possible. You don't want to like try and hit the goal over a span of 30 days. You want to hit the goal as fast as possible so you can exceed it and work off of the social proof you've created. So number one, they surpassed their goal in 15 minutes. Number two, they got to 3 times their goal in 30 minutes. So they really had an explosive right out of the gate funding period. And at the end of their entire campaign, which actually wrapped up earlier this month, I think it was November 3rd or 2nd, they ended with $382,000, like a little bit more than that they raised, which is just incredible. That is awesome. Kudos to Jong. It was a lot of great. It was so much fun too doing this project. I really enjoyed it. This is sort of what the product looks like. It's kind of, I like to think of it as like a Keurig for beer. Very cool. There was some messaging differences we had to change around, but overall, awesome product. Loved it. An incredible campaign. So another example, one of the questions I get very frequently is like, is this for people that are just launching their campaign? Like, this is their first campaign. A lot of my students also have already successfully raised money on Kickstarter or Indiegogo. So this is one example. So they did $346,000 with their first campaign, but then they want to do another campaign. And with this second one, they actually wanted to use PR. They wanted to have more media attention because they realized that was a major thing that they missed out on. So this is an example of a student who enrolled for that reason, wanting to do a really just a next level campaign with their second project. So you can see the value of this. And if you're raising 6 or 7 figures, it really pays to have the right strategies lined up so that you can raise as much money as possible and make the most of your time when you're live on Kickstarter. This is another example of a campaign. I've worked with a lot of different types of projects, and sometimes people will like to use my advice and these different things just to see, like, am I on the right foot? You know, am I doing the right things? Should I be doing this or that? Should I be looking at this service provider or not this service provider? Should I be doing Facebook ads? Like, there are a lot of questions. So a lot of people will also use my mentoring, specifically services for that, so they're more sure-footed when they're going into their campaign. Another great success story I had on my podcast a little ways back was Guido. So Guido launched a campaign, and he was really struggling with his first two to get media attention. So he went through my program. He got onto engineering.com, got on a lot of other publications, and really built out that area of his project so that he can get more credibility in all these different things. And he was also extremely coachable. I love working with students who are invested in the process, not just like looking for like a silver bullet, but they're also looking to work with me. They're willing to be receptive to changes that I suggest, these different things. He was very coachable, and that was an amazing time I had working with him. So these are the different things that I'm including in this offering here today. And this makes up the complete crowdfunding system. These are the various pillars that make up the system. So the first one is this premium training course that I put together called the Complete Crowdfunding PR System. So this is a $399 value that I regularly sell this for, and students enroll at this price. And the entire focus of this is PR, is how to get journalists to write about you, is how to get reporters to cite you, or to, if you're going after a blogger or an Instagram influencer, how to do that, how to get media attention. These different things talking about credibility. How do you actually get the attention of these bloggers and these journalists and these publications that already have a built-in audience? How do you do that? So that's what this entire first pillar of the training goes through. The next is actually my flagship course. So this flagship course goes into everything when it comes to building up a social media following, when it comes to ranking well on Kickstarter, getting traffic, these various things. Aside from Facebook ads, it covers everything when it comes to in the arsenal of getting attention for your crowdfunding campaign. So I'm also including this in today's offering. So not only are you getting everything when it comes to PR, you're also getting Smash Your Kickstarter Goal, which is a $247 value today. There are also, when I was getting started, I didn't realize that like people have different learning styles. I specifically, I love reading. I love to read. I love to listen to audiobooks and podcasts, these different things. Other people like video, etc. Other people like more one-on-one. So what I've done here is I've also included a lot of my written content. So the Kickstarter success guide that I'm including here today is a bonus. And basically what it is I went around and I interviewed many of the successful Kickstarter and crowdfunding campaigns, and they share directly with you what you have to do if you want to copy their success. If you basically want to take everything they did and apply it to your own crowdfunding campaign. So this is what's found in the Kickstarter Success ebook. A lot of this stuff is my own sort of digesting and sharing this stuff with you. This is from the horse's mouth. The Kickstarter Success ebook are what people have said you should do, unedited. And I also obviously at the end share some of my own thoughts related to what they have said. And also the crowdfunding fast track guide. This is kind of like an accompaniment or something that accompanies the Smash Your Kickstarter course. So it really goes into all the different strategies I've talked about. It's really there to be referenced. You can look through this, look at all the different techniques, etc. This bonus guide is there for you for not only the audio learning and the video, but also for reading. If you like to follow along with the course that way, I've also included that. And finally, the final pillar, like you think of like a stool or something like that. A stool if it has two legs, it's going to fall over. It just doesn't work. It's not designed that way. The same thing goes with crowdfunding. I think the thing that I've included over the years that has made a very big impact has been the Mega Booster Blast package. So with this, what I do is, number one, I write a featured article all focused on your campaign, and I publish it on my website, crowdcrux.com, which last year got over 800,000 views. There's lots of views, thousands of people every single month. So with this article, you're getting instant PR credibility, you're getting traffic. I'm introducing you to my audience, these different things, teasing out the elements of your story. It's not just me like trying to promote your product. It's also me going into your story and trying to tease that out to get people interested and curious about what it is that you're raising money for, and also you. The other thing is that I include social media promotion to more than 200,000 followers. So I'm really pushing you out there in front of my audience and giving you that exposure. And I'm giving you all of these different eyeballs and making it so that we're setting up your campaign for success. So that not only are you getting the mentorship, the training, all that kind of stuff, the guides, etc., you're also getting something real. You're getting real results. You're getting traffic. You're getting promotion. You're getting influence in a sense. Even if your campaign is launching in January or February, you have a limited amount of time when you can build up your social media profiles and get an email list. With this, you're also gaining access and tapping into the influence that I have to make your campaign much more likely to be a success. So this is a lot of stuff. I realize this is a lot of stuff that I'm including in today's package, but I wanted to. Everything here is working in tandem. Like it's kind of like a puzzle, and all the puzzle pieces are fitting together. If I was to leave one of these out, I don't think it would be as effective for you. And it's proven that case with my previous students. So with the complete crowdfunding system, number one, you're getting the crowdfunding PR system. This is my entire course and training on PR, how to get into the media, how to influence journalists, how to get that credibility, attention, and traffic from bloggers, etc. This is a $399 value. You're also getting Smash Your Kickstarter Goal. This is my flagship course, which goes through the Kickstarter ecosystem, the marketplace, social media, building up a following there, all of that kind of stuff, everything you need to do for your Kickstarter campaign. That is a $247 value. I'm also throwing in two other bonuses, the Kickstarter Success Guide, which I went through a little bit, sort of interviewing these different people, teasing out what they say you should do, why it is they were successful, and really nailing all of that down for you in a very easy to digest guide. That's a $29 value. Also, the crowdfunding fast track ebook, that's more of a comprehensive guide that's meant to be an accompaniment to smash your Kickstarter goal. So these are all the different techniques you can sort of reference. You can go through the different sections. You can see what you have to do. You can turn to a particular section. That's more of for you to reference. And in addition, there is the Mega Booster Blast package. This is the actual blast that goes out to my followers. It goes out to my on my website, crowdcrux.com, the featured article, goes out to my social media followers. Really, I'm pushing you in front of my community. I'm lending a bit of my own credibility, saying this is something that people should look into, also teasing the project, teasing out the story, getting people interested and curious, and getting instant traffic for your crowdfunding campaign and really setting you up for success in that way. That's the Mega Booster Blast package, which is a $499 value. And finally, to sort of round all of this off, sort of complete the system here, there is the one-on-one mentorship and also the ongoing mentorship. So you can use this as you would like. I would recommend scheduling a call as early as possible so I can get very familiar with your product, your goals, all these different things. If you're going down an avenue or using a strategy I don't recommend, we can correct that very quickly. I really recommend starting with that as soon as possible, but also to hold you accountable to these different deadlines. You know what? I want to bring my own energy to your crowdfunding campaign. You can see how passionate I am about this, guys, and I want to bring that to you. And I want to get you excited for this project. I want to make sure you're holding to your deadlines, that we're moving progressively into the future, and that we're sort of hitting all of these different checklist items so that we can have a very strong first day and a very explosive launch when you actually go live with your campaign. And this is a $299 value. So this is a lot of stuff I'm packaging in here today. But again, it all comprises the system. This is a $1,500 value. So I know that this is a hefty investment. You're getting a lot of value for it, but it's a hefty investment, and I recognize that. And I don't want this to be like a one-off thing. I also don't want crowdfunding to be a one-off thing. Many of the students I have, many of the campaigns I've talked with have launched multiple Kickstarter and crowdfunding campaigns. You know, they've done things after Kickstarter as well, building out their online store, a 6 or 7 figure Shopify store, you know, building out an online business, these different things. So I really want this to be the beginning point of a relationship. So I'm sort of meeting you halfway here in that today, my exclusive offer is going to be discounting these services for you. And also I can share a little bit of that with this next slide. So what I'm going to be doing here today, this is an exclusive offer. You're the only people that are getting this, that are on the webinar here, that are on the web class. I'm discounting all of this. So when you enroll today, you're going to get the complete crowdfunding PR system, a $399 value, the Smash Your Kickstarter Goal course, which is a $247 value, the Kickstarter Success Guide, $29 value, crowdfunding fast track ebook, $25 value, the Mega Booster Blast package, which is a $499 value. Really, that is a ton of value because you're getting in front of my audience and really sharing my entire clout and influence online with you. And finally, the personal ongoing mentorship, which is meant to not only make sure you're aligned, all the pieces are in order when you're going to this crowdfunding campaign, but also that you're confident, you feel good. I can give you the scoop on anyone you want in the industry or talk about any of the tools you should be using, a lot of things to sort of make it so that you don't spend or waste so much money with this campaign, and also to speed up the process a little bit. So rather than a $1,500 investment, today, you're getting it for $749. Now, this is a very special price. You can only access this. You can only unlock this if you use the link crowdcrux.com/webinar special. So you have to use that. Otherwise, it's going to register my traditional pricing. So if you want to gain access to that value, you have to use that link. And I've also linked it up for you below this video. You can look in the show notes, if you will. And you can see in the description the special link. So if you're at all interested, go and check out right now a little bit of what goes into this system. On that link, you'll get some more information there, go into more nitty gritty. But basically, you're going to be gaining access to all the different pillars for this crowdfunding system. So that the right training, the bonus guides, the mega booster blast package, the personal and ongoing mentorship, you're gaining access to all of that for this special price today of $749. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to be sharing this link with you, but this link is not going to be there forever. So on Sunday at 11:59 p.m., this link is going to expire. So if you try and visit it, it's not going to work anymore. It's going to register my traditional pricing. So I'm doing that where if you are interested, you can take a little bit of time, next few hours to think about it, but I really recommend enrolling now. But the reason why I'm doing that, so number one, I'm giving you the special price here today. You guys, stayed around till the end. I also am going to share another link with you after I go through some of the questions, which is a free link where some of the resources like I recommend you can look into, some of the tools you can use for your campaign. I did promise that, so I want to deliver on that after I go through some of the questions. But the other thing here is when you enroll today, you are setting your campaign up for success. You're working with me personally, and we're going to get on a phone. I'm going to join your team, become a part of your launch team. And also you're getting access to all of this other stuff, that campaigners just like you have used to surpass their goal, to have a very strong initial first week when they launch on Kickstarter, to gain access to my community, etc. So you're getting all of that value here today. $749, going to start this. I'm going to take a sip of water here. And then I want to go through all of the any of the questions that you guys have about crowdfunding, about your personal campaign, about marketing. Any questions you have, you can leave down in the chat. And as sorry, my voice here is going a little bit. Got to take a sip of water, but I'm going to answer some of the questions in just a second. Okay, guys, I'm going to take a second I'm going to answer any questions that we have. If we don't have any questions, I'm probably just going to go through some closing remarks. And I want to make sure that, as this webinar is closing, you're getting the most value. So I'm also going to be sharing a free link for staying around till the end. And this includes, all the resources and tools that I recommend you check out when you're going into a crowdfunding campaign. And also, I want to talk a little bit about sort of the overarching vision here and how you can make the most of crowdfunding, unless we have some questions here. So I'm just going to quickly scroll back into the chat. It's very difficult to talk and read the chat at the same time. So I might have missed one or two questions here. Let's see. Okay. Okay, we got some great questions. I'm probably going to send out an email as well with the webinar replay. That way you guys can revisit this webinar for the next until Sunday. And you can, if you have any sections you'd like to go over, like, it's had some questions here about Facebook, etc. You can go over some of the stuff that I've said. I do think Facebook is obviously important, but at the same time, the email list is the number one thing that's actually going to cause people to back your campaign. So you should use Facebook, but use it in a way that you're driving people to the right channels. You're driving them to the email list, or you're driving them to these various other things where they're more likely to convert. Once you are live, you can do things like Facebook ads. There are also companies in the industry that specialize in Facebook ads. They usually will charge a much higher price because they're an agency. But these are things. Facebook ads is actually one of the techniques that is used by a lot of different campaigns once they go live to get more attention. You just have to be very, very careful with doing it, because you can easily lose money. You can easily just kind of flush money down the toilet if you don't have your creative right, you don't have your call to action right, or you're targeting a wrong audience. That's just like a surefire way to waste a few $100s or even $1,000. So make sure that you read up on Facebook ads. And if you're interested in any of the other companies, to also read up on them, because some of them are not that great. It's important to read up on that. And also Kickstarterforum.org, there are actually a lot of people on there who have reported on many of these companies they've worked with. So if you ever have any questions, you can also go on Kickstarterforum.org to sort of get some information there. But I'm going to close out this webinar. I'm going to actually share the link here in the chat. Let's 1 second. Okay. So just shared a link here in the chat. So that's going to take you to a list of resources that you can look into that can help with your campaign, help with promoting it, help with running the campaign, speed up time, all these different things. You can reference that list via that link. But the last thing I want to say here, guys, is from what I've seen is with Kickstarter and with crowdfunding, there is a lot of uncertainty, and there's also a lot of antsy feelings. There's a lot of people who like they launch a campaign kind of haphazardly, and then when the campaign is live, they're just like panicking because like, oh my gosh, like I launched this, I thought it was going to work, and now I'm panicking. I'm going to go and try and do all these different things, and just you end up wasting money and wasting time. So I really commend you that you're actually looking at the pre-launch of the campaign. You're preparing. You're educating yourself ahead of time. It's really the best thing that you can do going into a crowdfunding campaign. It's the number one thing that's going to make it so that you raise more money when you actually do launch, because the majority of people that reach out to me are like, hey, Sal, I know you said not to do this, but I actually launched. I did panic. I bought these different things. They didn't work out. I'm going to plan a relaunch. Would you be willing to help with the relaunch of my campaign? That is the worst thing ever. Like, I love the fact that I'm getting, customers and service from that. But at the same time, that should not be the case. I want to help people before they go through failure. Before their campaign is floundering and they don't know what to do. I really want to help people on the onset and to sort of steer you clear from all these different waters where you can go wrong, or these different things that can happen to your campaign that waste time, that cause a lot of emotional anguish, that lead to embarrassment when your campaign doesn't get funded. All of these different things. It's my goal to help crowdfunders. Now that I've helped them with many different parts of the process, I really want to reach people who are just now preparing for the campaign. So that's my entire goal with this class, was to start you off on the right foot, and also to make it so that you have at least a sense of what you should be doing. You have now some more strategies that you can employ, and you have more confidence going into your project. A lot of the other stuff I share with this exclusive offer, which you can check out at the description of the YouTube channel video. A lot of this stuff also are just a war chest of strategies that you can use. It's taken me years to figure out a lot of this stuff, and I'm now sharing it all with you, along with my own personal knowledge, along with my own resources that I bring to the project. So I would also love to join your team in that way, and finally give you exposure to my audience. The way that I see crowdfunding is that crowdfunding is a launch pad, and it's really meant to get you from point A to point B. But at the same time, there are all of these hidden benefits when it comes to crowdfunding. You get exposure because now you're a successful Kickstarter campaign. Suddenly, people are interested in you. You've now access to thousands of customers, hundreds or thousands of customers. You now have a campaign, and you have a product that you can create. You have the funding to make a product. So when you ship it out, all these people can actually own and hold the product in their hands, and they can give you feedback. They can tell you what they like, what they don't like. They can buy future products from you. So Kickstarter and crowdfunding and Indiegogo, it's really the beginning of something larger. There are very few points where you can actually have a career shifting experience. Like, there are very few points where something opens up and you can actually either launch a business, you can change your career, and you can change the trajectory in many ways of your life. You can do something entirely new. But that's exactly what crowdfunding is all about, is it's giving you that opportunity. It's giving you access to a community of people online, and it's enabling you with the funding to actually make this happen for once in your life. It's incredible. It's the sole reason why I am so passionate about this. It is because of the opportunity it creates for so many of the entrepreneurs that I've had on my show, so many of the people I've interacted over the years, and to see their life change and for them to actually enjoy what they're doing. It's amazing to me. And you can also go into the archives of my podcast and just listen to these people's personal stories, the ways that crowdfunding has impacted their life and just changed the trajectory of their life. Okay, I got a longer comment here from our next movie. I'm going to answer this question and then wrap it up, guys. Thank you so much for attending. I will be sending out the replay if you want to check it out a little bit later. And I'll also be sharing more information. If you didn't have a chance to check out the link for the webinar special, the complete crowdfunding system, I'll share a little bit more information with you if you are interested in getting serious about the campaign, bringing on help, gaining access to the community, all that kind of stuff. I will also share some information on that. Okay, so I'm reading this comment right here. At what points during the campaign do you share the sorry? At what points during the campaign do you share the campaign with your followers? We do not we're not a gadget or a widget. We're making a movie. How do you see that working with your expertise, and what do you do specifically? Okay, so there are two answers to this. The first answer is, when it comes to sharing the project, a lot of people hold off on sharing it out of like the belief that they're going to announce it special, like as a surprise. What I recommend doing is, particularly with social media, you want to be sharing and teasing the campaign as much as possible. So like giving people a snapshot, or if it's a movie, giving like a behind the scenes like look, or like showing the characters or something like that. Any way you can sort of tease this project by sharing a little bit of content on social media, that's going to build anticipation for the campaign. So that's something that you should be doing, particularly with social media. Now, email list, that is something different. So social media is all about, like I talked about, the mere exposure effect, and sharing, getting the name out, getting people regularly seeing your campaign, these different things. People are more likely to be like, oh, this is the film for X, Y, and Z. Instead, if you didn't do that, you would share it when you go live. You're like, oh, what is this again? Like, I don't remember. People are just forgetful. So number one, do that with social media. Number two, with the email list, this you should be a little bit more strategic about. So while, yeah, you can send out an email like bi-weekly, or you can send out an email maybe twice a month to remind people of this upcoming campaign, I wouldn't go hard. I wouldn't go hard on that until you actually launch. So maybe when you have the day before, or 48 hours before, announce this is going live on this time, and notifying them of that. And then also, there's different periods throughout the funding process where you can continue to reach out to the supporters. So after the first week, that's a what I call a celebratory time. So you can use the fact you've raised X, Y, and Z as an excuse to talk about the project. So like, we just raised this amount of money. We have this many backers. Thank you so much, everyone. All these different people who have backed it. By the way, if you haven't had a chance yet, you can go and check out the link here. There are still maybe one or two early bird reward tiers available. These are going really fast. Recommend you can check it out now. Here's the link. But again, thank you so much, everyone. So after the first week is a celebratory time that you can use as an excuse to share the campaign with your email network. The other thing is, as you're going through the project, like say you have different stretch goals. So if you announce a stretch goal, you can do that with a Kickstarter update, obviously, to your backers. But you can also do that with your email list. So what you're doing with the email list is you're finding excuses to talk about the campaign, but not in like a self-promoty way. You're not saying like, hey, have you not backed our campaign yet? Can you please back it? Or like, can you please pledge $25? You're not doing that. You're instead starting the conversation with something else. Like, guess what? Like, we just announced this new stretch goal. And now when we hit this goal, you're going to gain access to all this other stuff. So you're celebrating throughout the project and using that to communicate with your followers. Or even saying like, look, this publication just wrote about our campaign. How cool is that? Thank you so much for supporting it. Our goal is to do this. We're trying to change the world in these ways. If you haven't yet, would love it if you could either support, or if you already have, thank you so much. Can you share it with one person who you think might be interested? So you're using these different points as an excuse to share and email your followers. And at the end, of course, going back to the concept of urgency, you have to communicate that urgency. So you're sharing it on social media, you're sharing it with the email list. Hey, we only have 48 hours left, or we only have 24 hours left. This is the last time you're going to be able to support the project. You're going to gain access to all these different things. You're going to make this film a reality. There's these cool rewards that are available, but all of this ends once the campaign is done on this date. So you have to do it beforehand. Otherwise, you won't have the chance afterwards. That's just how crowdfunding works. So that's another opportunity where you can share the campaign with your followers. So I hope that answers a little bit. There's some more stuff that we could talk about that, and also like when you should start to reach out to PR and these different things, but it gets a little bit more complicated after that. So thank you guys for tuning into this. I'm going to sign off now. I'll send you out some more information probably later today and also maybe on the weekend, just to remind you and also share with you the webinar replay. If you haven't already, go and click that link for the resources. Once I close this off, you're not going to have access to the chat anymore. So make sure you click that link if you want to gain access to the free list. But finally, thank you so much. Love this class. It was great. I love interacting with you. And also, it's been my passion to educate about this, as I'm sure you can see. So thank you for supporting that vision. And I hope we can not only get more campaigns launched and funded, but also get more good education out there. So thank you so much for attending this class.